The Christmas story. December 25th. The story of Christmas is as old as time itself, certainly as old as humanity. And the story is all to be seen in the stars. Life and death or demise of the sun. And why the sun? Because, of course, the sun was the most important of all the celestial bodies. The sun as the symbol of life, light and warmth, saving mankind from darkness and the death of night. The most revered object of all time. The sun, eternally resurrecting after setting each night or dying. The sun, regarded as the saviour of the world, with its life-giving rays of light and warmth, and revered because it was the sun that caused the crops and vegetation to grow. The sun, the source of all fertility. When the sun was perceived to die, as in winter, the crops died too. When the sun resurrected again, as in spring, the crops began to grow again. All of life was perceived to be dictated by and controlled by the sun. Thus, the sun was of vital importance to ancient civilizations, signifying immortality, light and life. Solar temples, monuments and edifices were built to sun gods, with priests and priestesses officiating at elaborate ceremonies and rituals. The birth sequence and life story of all these gods is completely astrological. Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky. On December the 24th every year, around the time of the winter solstice, Sirius aligns with the three brightest stars in Orion's belt. And those three stars are still known today as they were known to the ancients long before the 1st century CE. And the name of those three stars? The Three Kings or Magi. And those three brightest stars and Sirius all point to the place of the sunrise on December the 25th, the place where the sun rises, the place where the sun, S-U-N, of God rises. The three stars look towards the star in the east, Sirius, in order to locate the sunrise, the birth of God's Son. The birth of the sun after the winter solstice. The winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, after which the days begin to lengthen again. So hence, the three wise men following the star to find Jesus, the Son of God. And hence, December 25th being designated as the birthday of all the ancient gods, and Jesus, the God of Christianity. An astro-mythological story on which all the lives of the ancient gods are based, including the God of Christianity, known to us as Jesus through the story in the Gospels. We have gods running right down through the history of humanity. We have the ancient Egyptian sun god, Horus, plus Serapis, plus Zeus, plus Adonis. We have the ancient Greek god, Dionysus, 500 BCE. From ancient Rome, we have Jupiter, Neptune, Venus, Mars and Attis, 1200 BCE. We have Mithra, the Persian Roman god, 1200 BCE. In India, we have Krishna, 900 BCE. All gods, all born on 25th of December of a virgin, all died to save humanity, and all rose again after 3 days and ascended into heaven. So, the story of Jesus is only one more in a long line of gods. That was a God's life. Born on 25th of December of a virgin, died to save mankind, rose again after 3 days, and ascended into heaven. The winter solstice represented to the ancients the demise of the sun and was a symbol of death. The word solstice, solstice, means sun standing still. On 22nd of December, the sun sinks to its lowest point in the sky and remains still, or at least was perceived to remain still for 3 days. On December 25th, it begins to rise and move north again, symbolising the bringing of longer days, warmth and spring. The transition period of the sun, before it moves again into the northern hemisphere, is 3 days. 3 days, the length of time Jesus and all the other gods before him were dead before they resurrected. And during those 3 days that the sun was perceived to be still, where was it? It was firmly in the southern hemisphere, in the vicinity of another star constellation. And what was that star constellation called? The Southern Cross, or the Crux. So there is the story. The Son of God dies on the cross, was dead for 3 days, and then rose again. It cannot be more clear. Here is the source of the greatest story ever told, or indeed the greatest story never told, or even the greatest story ever sold. And the story of the life of Jesus in the Gospels replicates this astrological story, this astro-mythological story. Non-historical, based on the results of thousands of years of observation by the ancients of the movements and interrelationships of the stars and the planets. And it is worthy to note that in the Gospels, in the 4 Gospels, there are only 2 Gospels, Matthew and Luke, who mention the virgin birth. Now, a virgin birth is remarkable by any standards, no matter what century, no matter what place. But only 2 out of the 4 Gospels mention it. Matthew and Luke. Mark and John give no mention of it. Now, I wonder why that is. Well, either because it never happened at all, or because it was not a unique event. It has to be one of those 2 reasons. So if it never happened at all, or it was not a unique event, where does this leave us? Well, we certainly do not need to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because the Christmas message has got great spiritual significance for us. Its significance lies in its symbolism, like all other mythological tales. So what is the spiritual significance of Christmas? What is the symbolism of the Christmas story? What are we meant to learn from it? It is all metaphorical, which means it is not to be taken literally. It is symbolic of the natural return of the light into our world after the darkest days of the winter months. It's a time for new hope, a time for looking forward, a time for celebration, joy and spreading love. The light being reborn again into our lives and into the world. A time for understanding and acknowledging the ongoing natural cycle of the death and rebirth, the nature of humanity, the nature of absolutely everything in the great scheme of things, in the great cosmic dance, in the great divine plan, in the great grand divine design. But we must remember, it is only an astro-mythological tale. And like all mythological tales, it contains a story with a message for us to get.